Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. I hope your week thus far has been absolutely outstanding and the remaining hours counting down on this lovely Friday are amazing, and you're accomplishing all the things you set your mind to, and you're getting ready for an amazing weekend ahead. A little bit of an early stream today. Glad that you're joining us, because we got some business to attend to today. The Wall Street Journal dropped a ridiculous report out, so-called, from this news magazine. And they were trying to smear the president in there with this fake letter that was about a nude stick figure or something. So we'll talk about it. But Trump, not happy about it. He says, all right, look, this is completely fake. And I am going to, says the president, sue their booties into oblivion. So we'll go through that. Lots of reaction on the Epstein stuff, because Pam Bondi is now going to be working towards unsealing the grand jury transcripts. And so we'll see if that is going to lead to anything, but we've got a bunch of the stories there queued up on that one. Then we'll talk about this story, which is a good one. As you can see, it's about the FBI turning over details of 5,000 employees who worked on the January 6 cases over to the DOJ so they can make some decisions about firing those people. And we're looking forward to that, because they should, of course, be afuera. And here's what we've got cooking over here. Boom, on this story. Then we've got some lawsuits that we'll be going through. Remember this one. We had Norm Eisen and Mark Zaid. Remember these two fellas who were suing right here, these two. Norm Eisen, you know him, State Democracy Defenders Fund. Well, guess what? Norm and Mark lost yesterday. They had their case and their lawsuit that was filed on behalf of the John and Jane Does over with the FBI Association. Remember, we read through this a long time ago. They sued. They said, you can't tell the senior staff who we are and what we did. So you can't give them the information on the J6 team and staff and all the people. Well, judge came down today out of D.C. yesterday and said Trump's motion to dismiss from the DOJ is granted. Read it and weep, Norm Eisen. All right, so we'll go through that. We got the actual memo that came down from the judge. It's a 32-pager. We'll see how amazing it is in her obliteration of the lefty lawfare hack jobs who are bringing all of these lawsuits against the president. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll celebrate about NPR, PBS, and USAID all getting defunded and canceled. And man, the media is very upset about this. You can see we got Brian Stelter, Mr. Potato Head over here. He's screaming about it. This is the end of a public funded media era. Well, get your own funding. Sheesh. All right, start a YouTube channel. We also saw this one from Medialize. This guy's having a real tough time with this, because you can see he is basically saying that we're in a dictatorship, reminiscent of the Red Scare and all the things. So let's see what he says. And we got lots of reaction on this. So we got Speaker Johnson was talking about this. He's happy about it. NPR and the PBS CEOs getting obliterated in the media. We got John Kennedy, who gave us a breakdown on a lot of this. Tom Homan's coming up. And it's going to be a beautiful stream. And so, my friends, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. If you haven't already done that, we'd appreciate it. And thank you for inviting someone you know or love to come over and join us. And members, if you're a membo, stick around, because we're going to have an after party here today and say what's up to our membos before we call it a beautiful Friday. So, my friends, we've got a lot of that coming up. We've got Trump starting the day off with a truth. The president is not happy at all. He posted this in response to a Wall Street Journal article saying that the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch, you probably know him from Fox News, they were warned personally, directly by President Trump that the supposed letter they printed in the article that I'll share with you by President Trump, this alleged letter from Trump to Epstein, was fake, says the president. And he told them if they print it, they will be sued. So Mr. Murdoch, who apparently was supposed to run the organization, stated, okay, we'll take care of it. Not a big deal. But obviously did not have the power to do so, and they published this crap anyways. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, called Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake. But Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they're going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyways. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos and ABC, 60 Minutes and CBS and others, and looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all on the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for, quote, Trump to have won 3 elections. This is yet another example of fake news. And Trump posted this in the aftermath. He says, I look forward to getting Rupert Murdoch to testify in my lawsuit against him and his pile of garbage newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. He says that will be an interesting experience for Rupert, who's like 100 years old. So we'll see how he does over there. Now, we also saw Trump posted this. If there was a smoking gun on Epstein, why didn't the Dems, who controlled the files for 4 years and had Garland and Comey in charge, use it? Because they had nothing from the president. Now, this is the article that came down. I'll just show you what's going on. Totally ridiculous. Jeffrey Epstein's friends, and everybody's making fun of this. There's a bunch of very provocative stick figures flying around on X right now. I'll just forewarn you about that. We're not going to show them here. This is a family show. Yes, I know they're stick figure boobs. But still rated R, I think. I don't know how it works. It was Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, they said. And Ghislaine Maxwell was preparing a special gift. She was making a compendium of a bunch of letters. And apparently, someone got their hands on these letters, okay? Maxwell collected letters from Trump and dozens of other Epstein associates for a 2003 birthday album, according to documents that the Wall Street Journal got. Now, pages from the leather-bound album, assembled before Epstein was first arrested, are among the documents examined by DOJ officials who investigated Epstein and Maxwell years ago. Now, it's unclear, according to people who reviewed the pages. Now, it's unclear if any of the pages are part of the recent review. But the past relationship, they say, sensitive. Here you go. In a letter bearing Trump's name, which was reviewed by the Journal, is body like others in the album. And it contains several lines of typewritten text framed by an outline of a naked woman, which is hand-drawn with a heavy marker, with boobs and maybe nipples, I don't know. A pair of small arcs denotes the women's breasts. Oh, giant too. And future president's signature is a squiggly Donald before her waist, mimicking pubic hair, which is revolting that Trump would do that. The letter concludes, happy birthday, and may every other day be a wonderful secret. Did Trump also say, I've got a busload of 12-year-olds for you too? Did he write that in there too? And the 8-year-olds are going to be delivered at 5 o'clock. Signed, President Trump, future president. Make sure you save this letter for fake compromise in my future. So I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women, said Trump. In an interview with the Journal on Tuesday, Trump denied writing the letter or drawing the picture. He says, this is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story. He says, I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. It's not my language. It's not my words. He told the Journal he was preparing to file a lawsuit if we publish this. He said, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to, like I did everyone else. I said, well, we don't care. We hate you. Allegations that Epstein has been abusing girls has been around forever. And now they're trying to smear Trump with this, even though it's all their people. Leslie Wexner, Reid Hoffman. They got Alan Dershowitz in here. Bill Clinton. They don't want to talk about those people, though. Wexner declined to comment. Obviously, he doesn't talk about anything and just escapes everything. But here's more of the note, okay, from this stupid article. Says, here's the voiceover. It says voiceover at the top of the note. Trump wrote this, allegedly, according to these morons. There must be more to life than having everything. And so Donald writes this little like script like he's in theater class or something. And he's like fantasizing about this in a letter to Jeffrey Epstein. What? Says, Donald says this. Yes. And I guess he wrote all this out. It's an imaginary conversation between Trump and Epstein written in the third person. Isn't it clear how the letter with Trump's signature was prepared? But inside the outline of a naked woman was a note styled as an imaginary conversation. So this was inside the body of the naked woman. And they're not posting the image. So, a lot of people are recreating this based on their own artistic skill sets on X right now. And there's stick figure boobs all over the place. It's madness. Don't go on X right now. It's crazy. But here's what the message says, apparently. Trump wrote this in the body of a naked woman, allegedly. Donald says, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey says, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald says, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey says, yes, we do, come to think of it, in this fictional story. Donald says, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey says, as a personal matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Trump says, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. Jeffrey. Oh, it's great. Hilarious. Again, they could just say, and Trump said, and I'll deliver the kids at 5 o'clock. So a spokesman for Clinton referred to the other statement, says Clinton cut off ties with him a long time ago. He wasn't getting massages at airports or anything. And so Trump furious about that letter, obviously, as you can see. And the rest of the article comes back down, just kind of talking about rehashing a lot of the same old stuff. But what's so curious about this, now take a look at this article and who it was written by. Okay, so we got this person, Khadija Safdar. Okay, but this guy's interesting. Joe Palazzolo is one of the authors of this dumb article. And look what we got over here. Susan Crabtree posted this. Says, here's the scoop around this letter, right? The Wall Street Journal reporter who broke the blockbuster story alleging a letter Trump wrote to Epstein for his 50th birthday included a naked woman with stick figure boobies worked for Maine Justice. His only prior reporting experience was listed in his bio. Okay, so this is Joe Palazzolo, and he's over there, Wall Street Journal. And here's what is in his bio. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter on the investigations team at the Wall Street Journal. His work has uncovered abuses of power in boardrooms, conflicts of interest in the judiciary, bribes, blah, blah. Joe joined the Journal from the trade publication called Maine Justice. Okay, it's not like the Justice Department. It's just a newspaper where he covered the Justice Department. Before moving to the investigations team, he reported on the National Legal Affairs team for the Journal for 7 years, focusing on the nation's prisons, courts, guns, law enforcement. Joe is based in New York, of course. So here she says, well, that's interesting. Maine Justice, what is that entity? Oh, that was the organization that was run by Glenn Simpson's wife. Oh, yeah. And who is Glenn Simpson? He's the guy that funded Fusion GPS, which was connected to the Steele dossier. Fusion GPS, remember, was funded. Fusion GPS was like a private third-party contractor that the law firm hired. Perkins Coie hired Fusion, and Perkins Coie at the time was Mark Elias and Michael Sussman. Yeah. And so all of it is emanating from the same bucket of hoaxsters to produce the Steele dossier at the center of the Russian hoax against Trump, right? And we were contemplating this yesterday. It might sound crazy to think that they're making up Epstein stuff and seeding the file inappropriately. It's the same people. Okay, first of all, they've already done it before. They did it in 2016 with this fake steal crap. And then they did it again in 2020 with the 51 laptop letter from the so-called CIA idiots. And now they're doing it again. It's the same people from the same institutions, from Main Justice. They created the Steele hoax. Now they're creating this hoax. Both Glenn Simpson and his wife, Mary Jacoby, worked in and for the Wall Street Journal before launching their own enterprise. It's one big, disgusting, incestuous bucket of gross. Trump is now suing the Wall Street Journal over the blockbuster letter story, or arguing that it's bogus and they never showed him it so he could comment, which I think it's kind of inconsistent, because then he said he just posted that we did deny that it was a real thing. And that's who it is. Okay, so it's the same people, it's the same entities. And I think we also saw this from Natalie Winters. She found the same thing. Shout out to Natalie Winters. Says, wow, the Wall Street Journal reporter story here. Guess what else this guy wrote? You know what else he wrote about and covered? Stormy Daniels. Oh, he was credited for helping set in motion the first criminal prosecution of a former president. So more background on him. She's sleuthing around. And this one said, more than 6 years ago, Joe Palazzolo, the article guy who just wrote that dumb article about Epstein, same guy, broke the story ahead of 2016 that Trump and Michael Cohen were transacting money as it related to Stormy Daniels. Okay, so he set up that one too. All these people do is just launch lawfare and malicious attacks. And this guy's been doing it, just follow the bouncing ball for years now. So he breaks the story. Their story won a Pulitzer Prize, all made up. Michael Cohen's a convicted perjurer, liar. Their story won a Pulitzer Prize, and its finding remained central to Alvin Bragg's case, which was another rigged prosecution because Judge Juan the Con Mercan enabled a scam trial. We also saw this. Says that he helped set in motion the first criminal prosecution of a former president. Okay, it's Operation 3.0. They did it with Steele. They did it with the 51. They stole an election with COVID. They're trying to set up Epstein and exploit it for their own gains with the same fakers as the last two times. Trump Jr. said, hey, you know what? My father has a very specific way of speaking. Okay, people all over the world have mimicked it for decades, and it's hard to be authentic and really do it well. Some people try to do it and they just say, you can just add some things like, the best, or, the best ever, like his catch, like it's not exactly it. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. But also he says, everyone knows it. This insanity written in the Wall Street Journal ain't it. And everyone knows it. Also, in 47 years, I've never seen him doodle once, ever. Give me a break with the fake journalisming. Sean Davis said, has Trump even ever said the word enigma? And somebody did actually find he has said enigma. There is an old, I think, 2016 clip where he does say the word enigma at one point. You don't hear it a lot, but it was a 12-second from 2015. So long time ago to say that word. But the point is, it still doesn't sound like him, right? Whatever was written in there, like a fake little exchange. There is no record of him using enigma in writing or speaking. There's that one clip that we saw, but it's not in his books, apparently, according to Grok. So anyways, it does not sound like him. It sounds like a ridiculous, like, romance novel or something written by, for trashy dumpster bin books. So Trump, of course, is not happy about that, as you could imagine. And Tim Burchett, and there's a lot of reaction to this, says, seriously, how does the Wall Street Journal sit on a letter about Trump for 10 years and then decide now is the time to bring it up? Well, we know why. It's because this is their new hoax. This is their new attack. And Trump is being defended, of course, by Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, who was asked about this yesterday.
The president and I talked about that ridiculous allegation this morning. He said it's patently absurd. He's never drawn such a picture. He's never thought of drawing such a picture. And he said, did you see the language of this bogus supposed communication or card or something I supposedly sent to Epstein? He said, I don't talk like that. I don't think like that. They're literally making things up. And he's so frustrated by it. And he's going to wind up, I think, suing some of the media outlets that had put all this out there because they informed them that it was totally contrived. So, look, the president is the most maligned and attacked political figure in the history of American politics. There's no question about it. But he's also the most resilient. And you see at the same time his approval ratings are skyrocketing. By CNN had a story, I think, a day or two ago.
We covered
at
it.
90% approval rating. There's never been a president that high.
Yeah, baby. So just keep this train on the tracks. We're going to keep on winning here. And Trump is also now asking Pam Bondi to release the grand jury transcripts. Of course, subject to court approval. Pam Bondi, the AG, shared this yesterday. And this seems like nice progress, I'll say. Says, hey, from the president, Trump posted this on Truth, said, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end now, from the president. And so Pam Bondi came back out and said, you know what? Perfect. We're ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. And so we'll wait for those documents to get filed. Of course, a lot of this is going to be subject to court approval. We'll see what the courts do. Got my doubts about whether they'll release anything or not. But this is very curious, right? And this reversal, in at least this limited fashion, I still think there's a whole other, universe of evidence, right? There's a bunch of evidence that never got even submitted to the grand jury ever, or was even talked about in grand jury testimony because it was just not necessary at the time. Okay, all these other co-conspirators. So, for example, Epstein, in his 2019 indictment, which we read through here recently, we saw that he was charged with conspiracy. There were many allegations of many other people who were involved in him, and different employees, people trafficking the people into his world and all the things. And that means there's a bunch of other evidence that never made it into the specific charging process for those other people since they weren't charged. So we want to know all of that. And of course, we've got also questions. I mean, there was I don't know that there was a grand jury formed the first time, because that was a pre-indictment plea deal the first time when he got the sweetheart plea deal in 2007. So then we come back to this one. So is Trump going to only unseal the stuff from the 2019 case? Is Pam Bondi going to ask for all of the 2007 stuff, if anything was presented to a judge back then, which I don't think it was? But they were preparing, I think, a 60-count indictment, according to Acosta, until he got the ixnay on the Epstein order, and then gave him that smoking deal and let the state handle it so the feds didn't have to touch it anymore. So we'll see what happens, but it seems like a good development. And I know a lot of people are kind of flipping on, it's like some people declaring victory. Hey, Trump's going to release some stuff, so it's great we kept the pressure on. Other people saying, see, you idiots, you didn't have to scream about him. He was going to do it anyways, or whatever. So anyways, point is, I think more transparency is good. We'd like to know more about it. And we'll apparently see what the judges say. Again, I got my doubts that they're going to release anything, but at least they're asking. All right, so that is what's happening. Pam Bondi, shout out to her. We also got this from Representative Luna. She said, while others were busy stabbing President Trump in the back, we were working overtime behind the scenes in the Oval Office. This photo was taken earlier today, and no, it's not a coincidence. This is 4D chess, not checkers. Welcome to the big leagues. Enjoy phase 3. Bondi is unsealing grand jury testimony, if the judges do. And there's much more to come. This is the most transparent administration in U.S. history. So Luna, the president, and that dude in the Oval Office saying more is going to be revealed. But Trump is suing the Murdochs, and this was an interesting clip that is resurfacing of Tucker, who said that the Murdoch family, not necessarily Rupert, but Lachlan, the chair of the News Corp, the organization, was trying to get Tucker to run for president against Trump so that it could split the MAGA vote and deviate Trump from retaking the White House. These people are sick. Here's what Tucker said in response to that.
There's no one who hates Trump more than the Murdochs. I got fired in April of 2023. In May of 2023, they asked me to run for president. against Trump and said they would back me. Obviously, I'm not running for any, I would never get elected anyway. Plus, I like Trump. I mean, that's the funny thing is I actually genuinely, I get frustrated. I'm frustrated now.
So hold on. I'm sorry.
Trump.
You just said that and they asked you to run for president against Trump, the Murdochs.
Yeah. Lachlan Murdoch said, you should run for president. We'll back you. The whole thing, the whole
Fox News apparatus.
And not just Fox, but, Wall Street Journal.
All of their
Post,
papers,
Times
everything.
London. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll back you.
And that came right from...
You should do that. I was already gone. They'd already canceled my show. I was still under contract, but they canceled my show. You should run. We support you. You should run.
We want to stop Trump.
Yeah, well, he was running. There's no...
Yeah, so that's who we're dealing with over there. So a bunch of fakers who say, oh, no, we love Trump. Stab him in the back in the meantime. And Stephen Chung, also from the president's team, said... The Democrats, in coordination with the fake news media, just played themselves by peddling and publishing a totally false and defamatory article. Nobody in their right minds would believe this trash. So, saying don't be a panicking. So the Wall Street Journal will surely be getting hit with a lawsuit. We'll, of course, keep our eye out for that. We'll keep our eye out for any Pam Bondi motions to unseal and see what is in the bulk of those requests, and whether we even see those requests to unseal or those are filed with permission to file under seal. We'll see. So, of course, we'll keep our eye on it, my friends. Thank you for joining as we do. We got more. We're not done yet. We got a bunch more good stuff to get to today. And here is a fun one. The names of 5,000 employees, staffers, and everybody involved in the J6 prosecutions and hoax are now revealed. The DOJ going to get their hands on that spreadsheet, and then they can make some decisions on what to do about it. And this comes after a big battle over these records. And you saw this lawsuit that we've talked about here before. It was now in this case of the John and Jane Does of the FBI, right? They said, we don't want our names, John and Jane Does, out there. We're federal agents. We deserve privacy and security to commit crimes under pseudonyms without any repercussions or accountability inside our own agencies because we're the FBI. And so they sued, and they sued in two different lawsuits. They also have the FBI also has an agents association. Okay, so not only are they government workers with basically no real incentives or disincentives like you'd have in the private markets, but they also then form associations and unions, and they have NGOs, and they have all these people supporting them for all these things. And they're also getting money from the government. So it's wild. So they have their own association, okay? Then they sued. Now, this association in this second lawsuit was brought by these two, and you know who they are. We've seen a lot of them, okay? Organizers of lawfare, in my opinion. Norm Eisen is one of them. You see him all the time on MSNBC with the crazy ladies there. And Mark Zaid. You see him all over X. I think he's on Blue Sky now. He's kind of temper tantruming over on X. And doesn't want to, and is now facing a total and complete loss and obliteration. Both of them. Because the judge came back down and said that their case is now dismissed. They sued the president saying, you can't give these FBI details. You can't give them to the DOJ. We don't want anyone to know who worked on the J6 cases or tried to rig and ensnare an entire political party in a fake hoax. But their lawsuit to stop Trump from giving those records, dismissed. We'll go through the details, but now we're seeing what it is resulting in. The FBI now turns over details of 5,000 employees who worked on the J6 cases going over to Pam Bondi. Now, the agents were suing and their cases now gone, dismissed. And so we'll see who's on that spreadsheet. Pam Bondi will. Here's what CNN said. FBI officials have complied with demands to give the DOJ the details of thousands of employees who worked on these investigations, according to their sources. The demand has caused consternation among FBI employees who say, well, there might be a possible termination. Obviously, you as an FBI agent have an obligation to pursue justice and uphold the law. You took an oath. You did all the things. So when you then abuse your power to go after innocent Americans and you weaponize the government to do that, there will be consequences for that. Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, in a Friday memo with the subject line terminations, had given FBI officials a noon deadline on Tuesday to submit the details of all of these people back to us. Both previously ordered the firing of 8 senior FBI officials, including those who oversaw a bunch of investigations. Now, more than 5,000 employee details were submitted. All these J6 bureaucrats for 4 years, 5,000 of them. And they got like 1,500 people who ultimately were prosecuted, give or take, which is a lot, but it's really pathetic for all, like 5,000 people. So you can't even attribute like a 1-to-1 ratio. It took like 5 of you, took like, you know, and how many attorneys also are in this? Maybe not from the FBI, but how many attorneys at the DOJ? Like, this is only the FBI. Thousands of people. It was just a political operation. It made no sense at all. For 4 years of prosecutions, it's a joke, okay? And every prosecutor knows it in any city. Like, the prosecutor's like, I handle like 100 cases. I handle 70 cases. Some prosecutors handle a lot more cases than that. And for 1,500 cases, give or take, maybe they had to review 3,000, review another 1,500 to get to the other. Okay, fine. With endless video and thousands of people on staff, and that's all they got, right? In other words, they made it into something that it wasn't. They added all these people, all these expenses. We had Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland. This is the largest, most extensive diff in the history of America. Constantly. Just look at the numbers. You go, are you nuts? You have like 50,000 felonies that happen a year in New York City. 50,000 a year in one city. And they charge like 700 in the Capital 6 case. You go, the New York City prosecutors can handle 50,000 cases, but you pathetic DOJ prosecutors can't handle 1,500? They can't, because they're political hacks, right? And they have, look at this. There are more than 13,000 agents and 38,000 total FBI employees. So just look at the numbers on that, okay? 5,000 out of 13,000 agents and 38,000 total. That is a huge percentage of the FBI that was focused on that. Meanwhile, officials dispatched by Elon have been seen at FBI headquarters and was headed up by efforts by Trump's Doge team. Outstanding. But several FBI employees on Tuesday sued the DOJ, saying you can't do this. The very act of compiling lists of persons who worked on matters that upset Trump is retaliatory. And this is going to intimidate FBI agents. Yeah, the ones who broke the law. The survey agents were required to fill out, you remember we talked about this when they originally sued, that they were supposed to fill out a survey. It's like, where did you work on? What was your job duties over the last 4 years? Let us know. Bove's memo came after 8 firings of senior officials, this was last week, had taken place, officially laid out what appears to be the process that Patel described, and they are now getting delivered the names. Employees are allowed to stay anonymous in various lawsuits. Yeah, so we'll talk about the lawsuit right now because they just lost their lawsuit and they're going to file new lawsuits and we'll see where it goes. So, but here is where they lost. So these two guys, Mark Zaid, Norman L. Eisen of State Democracy Defenders Fund. Okay, these are the nonprofits that just get tons of money to file lawsuits. You can check them out. We've talked about them many times before. And Mark Zaid is another lefty super lawyer. And so they sued originally, right? Back in February, as soon as Trump came in, they said, whoa, you can't disclose these people. Stop Trump from disseminating the personally identifiable information. And I think it was these people who were talking about emotional damage. Yeah, it was this FBI. That's what among others, remember, this was in their complaint. The effects include a risk to their safety. If you tell FBI bosses about who did what, or DOJ bosses about who did what and who may have broken the law, it's going to damage their professional reputations because they might be found to be criminals and liars and dishonest, so they deserve it. And it might have harm to future employment opportunities, like if they get fired for the FBI for fraud or for abuse of office, yeah. Or in the ability to earn a living. Well, shouldn't have broken the law. And the big one was significant emotional damage, except they call it distress because they didn't want us to make fun of them. Like, we can't say emotional damage because everyone's going to make fun of us on the internet. So they called it, no, it's distress. We know what they meant. The FBI agents are so pathetic that after they broke the law, they need to proceed as pseudonyms, hire lefty super lawyers to stop the rounding up of the names in the investigations of the criminals who were complicit in one of the biggest hoaxes in modern American histories, January 6th. Says, so emotional distress. They're so pathetic. This is the FBI agents. These are Jane Does. We should just name them just so we can make fun of them for having emotional distress, for being held accountable for their poor performance of their duties, because it's pathetic. And that alone should mean you just can't be qualified to be an FBI agent. You're a pathetic person, so you have to go. So here was the order that came down. Norm Eisen and Mark Zaid and other FBI Jane and John Does all lose. Trump's and the DOJ's motion to dismiss their garbage lawsuit is granted, and the case is dismissed because we don't have jurisdiction over this. And so all of your requests for your preliminary injunctions are denied as moot, and you can appeal this if you want to. Signed by Judge Gia Cobb in a nice memo that says the following. All right, writes the judge, here's what happened. The FBI agents who worked on January 6th investigations, along with the FBI Agents Association's bunch of babies, they sue to stop Trump. They don't want agents' names and personal information to be disclosed. They say it's retaliation against us. It's violating our First Amendment. What? They move. Now, Trump says, you have to dismiss this. They're not even stating a claim. Like, they can't sue us for anything. First of all, their claims are too speculative. They don't allege that we're going to engage in any conduct or about to engage in any conduct that they're worried about. And so, accordingly, they lack standing. What are they even whining about? Emotional distress? What are you talking about? You're making it up in your brains, weirdos. So she says they have no standing because there's actually no harm. She says, well, they filed these cases in a whirlwind of chaos and fear because they're pathetic. DOJ leadership demanded the names of the FBI agents who worked on the J6 cases, and you would want them all too, because they were complicit in a hoax and a cover-up. The FBI refused. Things escalated quickly. The DOJ fired 8 FBI officials for purported weaponization, which was a good start, and agents were required to complete a survey saying, what did you do on the J6 cases? And that was a great strategy, because then if they lied about what they did and you just check, oh, well, you lied to us, so now you're gone. And some former J6 defendants, now pardoned and at large, called for the FBI agents to be doxxed, and they thought, we're going to get murdered by all these J6ers. Agents raced to court. They were terrified, says the judge, that they would be at real risk of physical harm if their identities were made public, which is weird because the FBI wasn't too concerned about that when they were going after innocent American citizens who were there peacefully protesting or were waved into the building, as we talked about here. Remember, BuzzFeed had that great video of those cops coming up to each other, tapping each other and saying, hey, whisper, tap on the shoulder, cops stand aside, everybody comes in. FBI charges all those people for entering a restricted area. Felonies, arrested them, hunted them down. And when they made their names public, after they were invited into the Capitol building and smeared their names all over the internet and ran their names in the mud and tried to get them fired and had a bunch of rabid, vicious, frothing leftoids screaming to have their jobs canceled, their wives leave them, their medical licenses canceled, their attorneys' credentials suspended, whatever they wanted. They wanted total blood. They had a bloodlust dripping out of there wherever. And now, in the hindsight of that, they didn't offer any of those people the presumption of innocence. They didn't offer any of them pseudo-anonymity so that they could proceed like cowards. They didn't need to. Instead, the FBI agents need all of that, and they're terrorized. Now, the parties submitted a consent order under which Trump confirmed, we're not going to publicly disclose these names. No one ever said that. We're just delivering it to the DOJ for management purposes. Now, since then, the judge says the dust has settled some. All right. So, in other words, the hysterics from them needs to just chill out. And this case has evolved. Now, Trump moved to dismiss, and the court ordered expedited discovery to cut through the chaos and allow them to shore up their standing allegations so that Norm and Mark could continue to fight for these emotionally distressed FBI agents. Before the court resolved the motion, now the discovery that went back and forth from Trump that he complied with revealed no evidence at all. No, she puts in italics, no evidence that Trump is on the verge of disclosing any of these hysterical FBI agents' identities, nor have plaintiffs plausibly alleged that such a disclosure is even imminent. The court must therefore dismiss all of these counts because they have no standing to bring the claim. There's no imminent harm. There's nothing going to be damaging. You got the answers you wanted. The harm that you claim is going to happen is not going to happen, as you saw. Now, that leaves these other counts. They say it's retaliation. Oh, no. In their briefs, the FBI agent babies, they contend that Trump is conducting an internal investigations of FBI agents. That's exactly right. Because they believe that they're not loyal to the current administration. No, that's wrong, right? That's your interpretation of it. It's that you're not loyal to the law and you're an unethical and corrupt person, and we don't want you in the FBI anymore. You had a home in the last administration, but now you don't. Plaintiffs further argue that the mere fact of being placed under investigation adversely impacts their careers. Tell that to the J6ers that you entrapped and you ensnared, and you smeared all over your X account, posting every day. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? But the court cannot assess that claim because it's nowhere in the amended complaint. So those lawyers just forgot to include it in their documents. Oops. The amended complaint alleges that only anticipated employment actions, like terminations or other specified future actions, would violate the First Amendment. And so you lack standing, Norm and Mark, and FBI babies. You can't challenge hypothetical contingent actions that haven't happened yet. Can't just make stuff up and sue. And plaintiffs cannot amend their complaints via briefs and change your whole lawsuit. So the court has to dismiss your claims as well. Oh, they're not happy about that. Here's some more enjoyable, juicy bits. The court draws these factual allegations from their second complaint. Okay, so they came back, Mark and Norm, and tried to let's fix this, and or maybe the other party did, but there was a second complaint, and they're kind of batched together, right? You saw there's two cases working in parallel. Now, where facts may be relevant to standing, the court just considers the record. And we did a lot. There were motions, there were briefing, and more. And here, she says what happened, is this judge writing, on January 6th, quote, an angry mob stormed the Capitol. And that's not her saying that. She's quoting Judge Jackson in a concurring decision, of course. Citing Ketanji. Thank you, Judge. FBI agents from citing ... wait for it, Ketanji. I had to. FBI agents from across the country were called upon to aid DOJ's subsequent investigation. They gathered and executed search warrants. Ultimately, it was nearly 1,600. Right? I said 1,500 earlier. It's 15 and plus, so nearly 1,600 with criminal-related activity. Of that, 261 defendants opted to go to trial. 257 were convicted. Okay, and it's like over 4 years with 5,000 FBI agents and I don't know, maybe 100 prosecutors. We still don't know the number on the total prosecutors. All of those people, okay, they got 1,600 total individuals. Just look at the numbers for any major city. See how many felony arrests they do every single year on that. And you're going to see it's a factor of 10, at least, in most major cities over that, okay? And they handle it like nothing. Some of them handle that every month. 1,600 felonies a month, no problem. The DOJ spent 4 years, okay, for 1,600 of these. And they were like trespassing charges. It's like you get asked to leave at a bar in Old Town Scottsdale and you don't trespass. It's the same thing. You're on physical property, you didn't leave. And that's the charge. It's not complicated. It happens in cities all over the place. They just said it's like the most expansive investigation ever because they had to identify people or something. Anyways, they were morons. 4 years later, on January 20th, Trump pardoned all of them, thankfully. The EO stated that the prior administration had engaged in weaponization of political power. They prosecuted more than 1,500 people and dropped all the cases against the BLM rioters, okay? So they just endorse their squad and prosecute other innocent Americans. Now, on January 31st, Emil Bove issued a memo entitled Terminations. The memo stated that the prior administration was weaponizing the federal agencies and said the FBI actively participated in a grave national injustice that has been perpetrated among the American people over the last 4 years. So true. Bove stated that he did not believe that the current leadership of the DOJ can trust these FBI employees in implementing the agenda. And the memo from Emil Bove listed 8 FBI officials by name and directed that they be fired. It closed with the following directive. It said, all right, acting deputy FBI director, FBI regular director before cash came in. You are also directed to identify to the Office of Deputy Attorney General by noon on February 4th all current or former FBI personnel assigned at any time to investigations or to prosecutions relating to January 6. These lists should include relevant supervisory personnel, as well as the people at the headquarters. For each employee included in the list, we want title, office, the person to whom they were assigned, role in the investigation, date of last activity, and more. Upon timely receipt of this, we're going to determine over at the DOJ whether any additional personnel actions are necessary. It's music to my ears. Says on Sunday, then they ordered Trump certain FBI agents, including some, to answer a questionnaire. Fill out this form too. Here's the form. Are you submitting this on behalf of yourself? What's your current title? Are you currently a supervisor? Are you a special agent in charge or a supervisory special? What the names? Are you currently an SES employee? What is your title when you participate in investigations, or what was it back on January 6th? Were you a supervisor back on January 6th? Were you an ASAC or SSIA? Were you an SES employee? What division are you currently in? What division are you in when you participated on January 6th? What was your role in the investigation on stuff that led up to or at or near on January 6th? And what was the date of the last activity? Let's go scrape it out, get it all. Around this time, some January 6th pardonees began calling on the administration to fire these people. In fact, Enrique Tarrio, who remember wasn't even there on January 6th and still got indicted as a co-conspirator in the seditious conspiracy case against the Proud Boys, where there were 5 Proud Boys, I think, who were on trial, and there were 8 federal FBI agents that they admitted to. So there were more federal agents than there were criminal defendants. It might have been 6 Proud Boys. I think one took a plea deal. But then the Proud Boys, more federal agents, and that was just from the FBI that they admitted to and stipulated to in that trial. Remember, there were 50 that the defense had identified that were Homeland Security that the judge kept out because they said it just wasn't relevant. So anyways, Enrique Tarrio said, yeah, FBI agents who testified against him and lied should be made to answer for her crimes. Because she got up there, they all thought they were like, kids in a candy store, like, Black Friday where the TVs are free, essentially. And everybody's running out with the TVs. They thought, well, Joe Biden's DOJ is here, so we can just testify, say whatever we want about these criminal defendants, lie on the stand, in my opinion. And they demanded recourse, rightfully so. On February 4th, then, 2 lawsuits came in. The FBI came out and said, we are having emotional distress over this. The FBI employs 13,800 special agents, and 12,000 of them, not only do they work for the government, which is like the biggest union on the planet, they then also form their stupid associations too. And the plaintiffs say that we're going to be emotionally damaged. They moved for a TRO. Emil Bove said multiple times, give us this information and report it up immediately. In fact, in February, Pam Bondi issued another memo and said, we are making some distinctions here, okay? Good faith actions by federal employees simply following orders are different. If you're just doing what somebody told you to do, like we'd rather know what you were told to do so we can go after the superior who told you to do the illegal thing. So the court held a hearing. At the time, the parties seemed to agree that the acting director had not provided the names at the time. Now, on February 7th, they negotiated a consent order, and they were going to preserve the status quo while we filed briefings. So then there was a renewed motion from Discovery by Norm and Mark. And Trump filed a notice that, okay, all our discovery is complete. We explained everything that we're doing. And so the court held another hearing. On May 13th, Ed Martin, shout out, the newly appointed head of the DOJ's weaponization working group, held a press conference. And he said, we're looking into it. So they filed a notice. They said, Ed Martin's talking garbage. He's saying that if they violated the manuals, that we're going to go get them. They said, you can't do that. We're innocent, emotionally distressed FBI agents. So then they filed a reply. They said, Ed Martin is so dangerous. He's still saying things like, we should name and shame him, right? He said, actually, these guys are scum. Yeah, like Brennan and Schiff, they're actually destroying the country. He said, we got to name and shame. And the FBI agents, their emotional distress just kept continuing to rise, like smoke coming out of their ears. So the judge is going to give us some legal rules and talk about standing, and then give us some analysis, which is what we really care about. She says, well, here's what they're saying. Okay, Norm and the FBI babies, they're complaining about due process, really, and privacy rights and all these things. But their lawsuit is crap. It doesn't even include allegations that sufficiently support their belief that something bad is going to happen. And now their second set of claims are based around the First Amendment. But again, these are hypothetical. They say that we might be terminated or there might be some bad things that happen to us, but it's in the future. So the court cannot overlook that deficiency, okay, FBI agents, and must therefore dismiss this for lack of standing. You're just making stuff up. Stop hyperventilating, okay? Just go for a walk and touch some grass. Plaintiffs say that Trump is going to disseminate these names to everybody. And so they say stop them from doing that. But the judge is going to say, well, if you're alleging a future injury, like if you're saying something is going to happen in the future, then you really have to establish that that is absolutely going to happen. Like you have a rigorous burden to make that up, and you haven't met that. So they tried to change their complaint. They point to different factual allegations. And she says, well, let's go through them. You say Trump's going to do all these things, but okay, here's what Trump said. Trump said FBI agents are thugs, tyrants, and a Gestapo. And they said, see, he's going to go take him out. But they say those statements say, yeah, there is some animus towards some plaintiffs if Trump said those things, but they don't remotely indicate that he's going to take a particular action here. Like that doesn't mean he's going to disclose every single name. Are you crazy? So then Norm and Mark and the FBI whiners, they also point to the government's past conduct. They say, well, they have publicly identified other people, and so maybe they'll identify us. And they say, well, the connection between what happened in the past and what might happen in the future is even more attenuated in this case. Even the sole disclosure that involved the employees in the terminations memo is not analogous to what you think is going to happen. They said we fired 8 people, 8 high-ranking people. Now we just want to know who else was involved. But that doesn't mean we're necessarily getting rid of special agents. Bove did not even source these official names from the list at issue. Like the list that you're generating didn't even exist. You got those names from another list. You're upset about that list, and this is a separate list, so it's not the same. And so although you're asking the court to make an inferential leap here, you haven't even argued that that memo violates the Privacy Act because that memo is not based upon the list. Now, when it comes to standing, the fact that the administration may have disclosed other names doesn't mean he's going to disclose these names. And you discuss certain cases, they write, Norm and Mark, but those cases are not on point. In that case, this was about cybersecurity protections. Doesn't matter that case. And although past conduct can be relevant, here, the conduct that you say Trump has done in the past is not the same. It's not valid for your new claims. The past events that you rely on are under completely non-analogous circumstances. And the fact that the J6 defendants got pardoned don't match up to any of your alleged injuries. Like their pardon has nothing to do with what you say is going to be the harm. The court cannot reasonably infer one thing from the other, and so you lose. Now, also the conduct about the survey. They say, well, the survey is coming to a conclusion and that the survey will lead to more damages. But we can't infer that Trump is going to take unlawful actions because somebody hasn't publicly commented on something. But she says, oh, anyways, beyond all that, the discovery responses did not even give them anything that they needed to support their claims. According to the responses, the department has not shared a list with anybody, with any non-DOJ person, and they have no intention to do that anyways. In fact, the department has not even accessed the names that the FBI shared with it originally, and because we got a court order. And further, discovery turned up no documents related to the intent to disclose anything anyways. And finally, Ed Martin's statements were made. But even assuming that his statements, which did not refer to FBI agents on their face, did apply to them, they don't suggest that the disclosure is certainly impending. He says naming and shaming would be contingent upon finding bad actors or something that did not make sense. Like, we're not going to go and just attack innocent people. That's not the point of this. The determination that the bad acts were not illegal means that they're not going to be charged, because any disclosure is dependent on future acts. The judge says, I can't find that you can make this claim. Now, the court takes Martin at his words. They said, we know Ed Martin wants to name and shame. But when the White House press secretary posts on social media stating that a memo purporting to rescind this, we take that seriously. And so we could infer from the statements, but his statements, specifically in this case, don't attribute to the harm. And it is worth pausing to note, wraps up this judge, in a case where both the facts and the law are hotly contested, the parties do agree on something. They say, we don't want to release the names to the public. It could put them at risk of serious physical danger. And there is a history of these threats escalating as well. Well, I mean, if they did something wrong, I do hope that their names are made available, because they should be charged with crimes. They should be subject to investigation and firings. It should be part of the public record. Like, why does everybody else have to have their... You can be accused of something and found completely innocent, and you're still going to have a filing record. It might show acquittal, but it's still going to be in the public record somewhere. So why are the government officials who also do bad things, except they did it against us, the government, aka the people, why do they get immunized in all of those things from those things? Now, we don't want innocent people's names smeared through the mud, but if there's been process inside and they're fired and terminated, they should be shamed. We should know that they got fired so they don't go to some other police department agency or some other law enforcement entity in some other area, and everybody just forgets about their corruption on J6, one of the biggest hoaxes of all time. They should be named and they should be shamed if they did something wrong. Everybody else has that standard. You get a speeding ticket, you get named and shamed. So the executive director of the FBI agrees that if we disclose this, it's going to be harmful. We're all going to die. We know you're all going to have emotional distress. The court makes this observation because it understands why they're afraid, because they're FBI babies. The court understands why and why they want assurances, and understands why more assurances would be good. But just because you want more assurances doesn't mean that what they're doing is illegal. And your First Amendment claims are also ridiculous. You say they launched this investigation for loyalty, but that's not what your complaint says. The amended complaint references the review process, and so your complaint is a little off here. You're complaining about things, or your briefs are complaining about things that are not in your complaint. The court thus does not understand your insistence that termination is not part of the counts. We read your complaint the same way Trump does. Your First Amendment claims are brought because you fear retaliation, but the court has already explained why you can't challenge any future disclosure, saying the court, therefore, is going to dismiss all these counts and your other count fails for the same reason. Saying, once again, the FBI agents have failed to allege any adverse action is either imminent or certainly impending, and they lack standing to bring their claims. You can't come in and sue under emotionally distressed FBI agents for hypothetical and contingent future injuries. You lack standing. And so your case is hereby dismissed. Get out. And your motion for a temporary restraining order is hereby denied. Norman Mark lose, courtesy of Gia M. Cobb, and the emotionally distressed FBI agents now have their names being delivered to the DOJ. And as we got lectured by them many times before, no one is above the law. So we'll keep our eye on this one. We'll see if they appeal it. They probably will. And we'll see if the firings start as they should. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, we got one more update, my friends. And then it's going to be time to hear from you. See what you say about all these stories and more. This one is another good one. Victory in Congress. Byron Donalds celebrating this, saying, you know, last night the House passed H.R. 590. It was close, 216 to 213. But we're going to codify the first rounds of the Doge cuts, baby. USAID, defunded. NPR, defunded. And PBS, defunded. Our hard-earned taxpayer dollars never should have been funding this egregious politicization in the first place. Now it's going to President Trump's desk, and they've intimated they're going to sign this puppy to execute these rescissions. And we're going to talk about NPR and how upset they are, man, because the media is flipped out. Brian Potato Head Stelter upset. This guy, Potato Head number 2, also very upset. And they basically look alike, right? It's kind of what we see happens here on MSNBC. It's like they just copy and paste everybody over there. But we got more reaction. John Kennedy assembled a very nice list here. Senator, he said, let's go through this and explain exactly why these people are so terrible and why we have to defund this propaganda. So we'll come back to Senator Kennedy, but here is how the House sounded when this got passed.
The question is on the adoption of the resolution. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for a recorded vote.
The recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise.
All right.
The nays are 213. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
All right. So it gets passed and the media fuming about it. Here's Brian Stelter saying, this is the end of an era.
Not happening now.
No, this is the end of a publicly funded media era. This dates back to the days of black and white television. You know, back in the 60s, Congress saw a value for PBS and NPR, but no more. As a result of this rescission, radio and TV stations will have to lay off staffers and cut back on programming. Some smaller stations will suffer more than bigger stations, right? Popular shows like Daniel Tiger's
Not happening.
Gone. Go get your own funding and do quality programming. Stop getting propped up by the federal government and the American taxpayer for your propagandized fake news. And there was a lot of it. So as we saw, Kennedy gave us a nice explanation on some of the highlights of the worst from these people. PBS, NPR. Here was one CEO of PBS over on CNN. And she said people struggle to come up with how they're biased.
I asked them for examples. People often struggle to come up with examples of what really they're talking about.
Oh, really? Let's see. John Kennedy has a couple of those for us. In fact, he says, in Louisiana, a PBS video claimed that preschoolers may have racial bias. It's true. Little racist toddlers running around, calling everybody bad names. PBS affiliates also advocated for males and women's sports to have support in their push for athletic access. Now, they may have the right to say this, but not with our money, says Kennedy.
Here's another one. This came from Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Becoming Papa, father's key to gender justice. I can tell you that's every mom and dad in Louisiana, when they lie down to sleep at night, and they can't, they're lying there worried about gender justice. Mm-hmm. Not. I mean, the article, the title of the article suggests what you ought to believe. That's not fair or balanced. Here's another one. Transgender athletes seek protections to play sport. Here's another.
That's from Kennedy. Here's another one from him. He says, they also push gender-affirming care for youth and released anti-woke, anti-racist talking points for talking to young children about race. Here's another poster board.
Here are a couple that you saw on that you saw on television, PBS, paid for with your tax dollars. First headline, talking to young children about race and racism. Another headline, how America's history of racism connects to divisions today. Another headline from PBS, the hidden racism of young white Americans. Your tax dollars. Another headline, AP fact check, Trump seeds race animus with COVID falsehood. Another headline, Biden trumpets economic gains but struggles to get credit.
That's all they do. There was a bunch of that. Remember, Kennedy has been doing this for quite a while. You get the gist of it. But now their funding is gone. And this was the same entity and set of entities that didn't want to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop. Remember, they said, we don't want to waste our readers' times with this salacious, irrelevant Russian propaganda. Turns out it was all true. And they lied about it to cover it up. Now, here was Brian Stelter's cousin, I think, I'm not sure, who is also on MSNBC. And he is very upset about this.
That as well. So, David, can you put into perspective?
Yeah, put it in perspective.
How much
for us,
the
David.
NPR case is escalating a nationwide culture attack on free speech?
Yeah, I've not seen anything like this in my adult lifetime. I think we're looking at a comprehensive attack on free speech that is maybe most reminiscent of the Red Scare. And, you know, the one thing that is so particularly pernicious about it is that Donald Trump is very shrewd, politically shrewd in his attack. He's taking on a lot of institutions that a lot of Americans don't like. So, for example, elite universities. You're not exactly going to get millions of Americans in the streets for elite universities. Or white shoe law firms. People aren't going to be in the streets for white shoe law firms. Or for big media outlets where he sued them for defamation, et cetera, or retaliated against them. So he's choosing many of these politically unpopular targets, but that's the classic move of the censors. If you go back to the Red Scare, this was a frontal attack on free speech.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Red Scare is where this guy's going. So he's totally nuts. So Trump is going after the institutions that they have propped up to support their liberalism. Okay, that's how liberalism works, is they have to create these institutions to create new values, and then they try to tie society to these new institutions. And it can be a bunch of different things. It can be climate change, right? Create this climate change concept, and you create all these companies around it, and then you start to push people into this psychosis, and you change behavior, and you create this liberalism utopia of everything is beautiful and happy because your institutions are controlling society rather than having society operate by a bunch of kind of random people operating out of their own self-interest in free markets and free relationships and free exchanges with freedom. And then you let society, you know, materialize up from the bottom rather than being orchestrated and controlled from the top. So he's just upset that a lot of those institutions are now being given back to the people, which is really what he's upset about. And it's real rich to hear from MSNBC and the people on the left telling us about Trump being a censor. Give me a break. They threw Trump off the internet, and they're going to scream to us about Trump censoring people. They canceled him. The sitting president of the United States, they threw off of Twitter and Facebook and everything. And then every month or so in the remaining 4 years, they had some new sort of censorial attack vector until Elon came and bought X. They had the Disinformation Governance Board with singing Janky Jankowicz, one of the worst witches of all time. Singing Janky Janky Witch, little Janky Witch. Yeah, so you get the song. Now, she, of course, was the person who was censoring everybody and wanting to censor everybody in the name of COVID disinformation and cancel you and all the... These people are crazy, okay? They censored everybody, and they created a new censorship regime every quarter. Oh, now it's racially motivated violent extremists this quarter. Christopher Wray comes out. Oh, that's a racially... What about this? homegrown domestic violent extremist is the next one. So it's like DVEs, RVEs, HGVEs. Every time they needed a new little app update, they just updated their protocol, came out to Congress, and they just lectured about January 6th. It was boring and repeatable. And now they're going to say, well, since you're destroying our institutions that we propped up to seize control of your country, which was never a country that has all these independent institutions that are stood up in between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. No, those are the branches. Those are the institutions. You don't get to create NPR and PBS and all these different things as little subsidiaries to support your liberal ideology. Get out of here. So that was from Senator Kennedy. And we also had this clip. Yeah, so here's how upset they are about this. Here was Dana Bash over on CNN. She couldn't even finish reading this statement. That's how upset she is.
And he wrote, "It's very important that all Republicans adhere to my rescissions bill and in particular defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting," which is worse than, I'm not even going to read that. Any Republican that...
Oh! So she just censored the president, the media. Isn't that interesting? I'm not even going to read that. Why? Because you can't report the news. Does the truth hurt coming out of your mouth, Dana? Trump said, "It is very important that all Republicans adhere to my rescissions bill." They did. And in particular, defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, PBS and NPR, which is worse than CNN and MSDNC put together. She couldn't even bring herself to read it. Any Republican that votes to allow this monstrosity to continue broadcasting will not have my support or endorsement. And mission accomplished. Dana having a hard time over there. And Johnson is explaining, we are just going to keep on winning, baby. Here's the Speaker of the House.
Well, the reason we named it the One Big Beautiful Bill is because there's so much in it for everyone. And I'm delighted to hear the former HUD Secretary sing the praises of the bill. There are a lot of praises to sing, and everyone will be singing that tune. And certainly the voters will when we come to the midterms in 2026. And the reason for that is because we wrote this bill for the lower and middle class earners in America. We're the working class party. The Republican Party is. We delivered for them. And it's important to point out all the Democrats in Congress voted against all those great provisions. You're talking about historic tax cuts, historic savings at the same time. But what it means for the typical family in America, an additional average $13,000 in their pocket at the end of the year in take-home pay. You're talking about the child tax credit. 91% of Americans will benefit from the increase that we did there. Seniors got tax relief. No tax on tips and overtime and things that they're really going to mean a lot to people. And it's going to be jet fuel to the U.S. economy. You're beginning to see just the enthusiasm that the passage of the bill has sparked. This is the beginning of a great run for America. President Trump called me early this morning. We were doing a victory lap together on the phone about the passage of the rescission bill late here last night. And he said, "Mike, we're just winning. We're going to continue to win. This is a great moment for America." I said, "Sir, it's historic, and there's much more to come."
Much more to come. Thank you for that, Mike Johnson. Now, we also saw Eric Schmidt was out. He was saying, we're celebrating some of her most deranged tweets out here. So good riddance to this CEO.
We're defunding NPR finally. I thought it'd be appropriate to maybe read some of the craziest tweets.
Okay, I don't want to listen to the music. Neither does anybody. So thank you for that, though. So we got now Tom Homan explaining the money is going to be respent on other things. And Tom Homan is saying, we got more money. Now we're going to convert that to ice beds. So get ready. No more NPR garbage. Now we get some ice beds.
It's the most secure border in the history of this nation. The President Trump, his leadership, his executive orders, and the men and women of the Border Patrol, the 20,000 men and women standing on that front line every day, 24/7. So God bless them. They're out there doing America's work. Look, I'm with the president. I mean, we need detention beds. Thank goodness we got the big, beautiful bill passed, because right now we got about 59,000 in custody. But this morning I woke up, we got less than 400 beds available, 400 empty beds right now. We'll fill them, by noon. So we're constantly chasing our tail, trying to get as many removal flights as possible to clear up some more beds, so we can continue arresting the worst of the worst. So I'm with the president. We need the beds. We got to get the 100,000 beds, maybe even more. We have the money to do it. So we can't rest. We got to get out there right now and get as many beds as we can, as many transportation contracts as we can, both over the ground and in the air, and as many contractors as we can, and boots on the ground. So we're not waiting. We're moving quickly.
All right, so lots of changes happening, right? Some of the federal government losing some cash. We're getting some resources in other areas where we actually need it for things that actually help America, and we're happy to see it. So NPR and PBS, they can exist. They can just go get their own funding. We don't have to pay for it anymore. And our federal government can rein in the spending and spend it on things that actually matter. All right, my friends, what a beautiful day it has been. If you're just joining us, thank you for joining us early, and thanks for being here on this lovely Friday. We got a great story that we covered to start this out. We got Trump saying he's going to sue the absolute pants off Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal because of their fake letter, which everybody is mocking. And there's a lot of stick figure nudie photos out there on X, if you're into it. You can see that the Wall Street Journal came out, sent this story about some weird, bizarre, made-up letter that they published. Trump, fuming about it, says he's going to sue. And in the meantime, he has ordered Pam Bondi to seek the unsealing of the grand jury transcripts. And so we're looking forward to having those come out. Whatever I did with that link from Pam Bondi, here is what she said right there. Boom. So we talked about that from Pam. Then we talked about the FBI and how 5,000 employees who worked on the J6 cases now getting their names turned over to Pam Bondi. And she can decide what to do about that and have the help and conjunction of Emil Bove. We've also seen that Norm Eisen and Mark Zaid lost their lawsuit in a motion to dismiss. They were emotionally distressed on behalf of the FBI agents who may or may not have committed crimes, so they had to proceed under pseudonyms. Well, now they lost their case. Judge Gia M. Cobb dismissed all of the counts against the Trump administration, and so the names can now be disclosed. I'm sure they'll appeal it, but as it stands, they've got no standing to challenge these actions. Then we wrapped it out with a little bit of NPR, PBS, USAID defunding. We see Congress is moving this forward. I just saw a comment come in from Bondi saying the Senate may have revised something, and now we have to repass this tonight. So hang tight on that. But looks like it's headed in the right direction. So hopefully it ends up on Trump's desk. Mike Johnson seems pretty confident about it, and we'll see what else comes down the line. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you, and I'm very glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting our channel. Thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for being membos and all the things. And I hope your Friday is just incredible. We got, hey, KB and Carrie B clipping for us. We got new membos too. What's up, Bruce Rice baby? Dun 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 in the house. In the house. Man, we got some nice donuts. Look at this pup. Oh my goodness, it's perfect. Hey, good morning, Watcher fam. Bart is ready for a potty break in the rain. Oh my gosh, you've got a raincoat for your puppy. That is just incredible. Man, shout out to Bart. What a handsome pup. Looking good. Hopefully it was a great walk and he's feeling very relieved. Adorable. Thank you for that one. Coming in from Buffalo Betsy. Beautiful pup. Beautiful coat. Hey, Retired 5-0 in the house. Retired 5-0 joining us. We have some other retired LEOs. Former LEOs. Sergeant Bob, of course. Great to have you. Retired 5-0. Thanks for being a membo for 1 month. First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. Rub some dirt on it, shared this. Don't make Mama G pull out the get along shirt again. I know. So I don't know. Did we share that here on the main channel? Or was that on a Membo stream? I don't remember. But anyways, here it is. Here's the photo of the Get Along t-shirt that Rub Some Dirt created for us. Here's our Get Along t-shirt. This is after we were a little bit ornery over the Epstein thing. But I feel much better now. So I think that things are fine. I mean, I don't even know if we need the shirt anymore, but It's useful. This is as bad as making your, the brothers hold hands on the couch that Mama G did, which was still traumatic. I need some counseling for that. But great. We're feeling good. We're all getting along now again. It's great. Thank you. Rub some dirt on it. Kona's mom. What's up, Kona's mom? Good to see you. Is that Kona? Kona's mom in the house. Welcome aboard. Great to have you. Thanks for signing up. Thanks for becoming a membo. Membo, stick around. We're going to have an after party and debrief and say what's up on this Friday. So come join us. Hey, Mock Schnell is here. We got 50 new membos coming in. It's courtesy of Mock Schnell. Golly. Says, hey, Rob, Wes is doing good in the market, but to be honest, the Dow is down 4%, and the S&P is down 6% overall since January 20th. Myself, my average account is up 47%. Just got to be watchful and listen to what POTUS says. Simple as, man. Man, you guys are smart with these stocks. I'm going to have to learn something. Thank you for that, Mock Schnell. Man, and I'm glad that your portfolio is looking good because we're enjoying it too. 50 membos came in from Mock Schnell, and you know who you are. We had a bunch of new membo friends come in. Mock Schnell, thanks for doing that. I think we may have some of them clipped later. But Mock Schnell, 50 new membo friends and up 47% in the market. Spreading the love around the Watcher fam. It's a golden age for us all. Thank you for that, Mock Schnell. We appreciate it. Rick Donner says, what's up? Fox News reporting an explosion at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Office facility. I saw that as we were starting up here. And my understanding was it was an accident. It was an incident. I thought originally, I'm like, oh my gosh, are they attacking these facilities? Apparently something exploded in a car and like 3 sheriffs died, man. So rest in peace to them and their families. Horrible. I mean, just like, oh, just doing a training exercise and now you're dead. It's just awful. So thank you for that, Rick D. I know it's a news story, so we'll wait for more details, but thanks for the heads up, and thanks for being here for 14 months, Rick D. Wes Downer, Mock Schnell said, had some great words. 2 of our Warren Buffetts are here. Says, never blindly invest. Do your research and or hire a professional financial advisor. They're not that expensive, and they're worth the money. Yeah, I've got one for sure, because I really can't do math at all. Wes Downer, thank you for that. For being and shout out to you. Wes Downer is making some moolah in the mining markets, I think. Hey, Relantel, what's up? Hey, Rob, come a long way since the Fannie hearings. Thanks, Rob, for Relantel. Yeah, a lot has changed since the Fannie hearings. That's been a while, huh? Basically, like the whole election has changed a lot of things. It's been interesting to go on offense a bit, huh? Relantel, thanks for being here for 17 months, man. You've seen some serious business. And Mock Schnell, 50 more membos coming in. That's a hundo membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell. Man, thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing that. So 50 and 50 new friends. We'll see you on the after party. Come join us in just a few minutes. Object Class Keeter, what's up? I mean, it takes a lot of money to fabricate evidence and to do a lot of research to find the crime. You find me the man, I find you the crime, not to mention the laundering to non-government allies. Yeah, that's exactly right. You can basically find crimes, I think, for everybody. I mean, they made up crimes for J6ers. They made up crimes for Trump. They prosecuted him for stuff that they'd never prosecuted anybody for. And even in, the civil cases brought by Tish, Fannie's case, totally conflicted off. I mean, ridiculous. They tried to throw Trump off the ballot with fake due process and said that some judge in Colorado could invalidate the entire election by having the primary candidate thrown off the top of the ballot because of insurrection that they just made up. It is criminal, and they just called it democracy and preserving democracy and all that stuff. Ridiculous. Thank you, Object Class Keeter. Hey, this one came in from Deluxe Night. Farmer Deluxe says, good morning, Rob. And it is a beautiful day. I am now officially posting daily farm activity short videos on Rumble. Still figuring it out. That's awesome. And you should also, if they're the short vertical videos, I'd also put them on YouTube and, think about it. Still figuring it out. The Epstein push is nice again, coming from the top executive of our big, beautiful country. Have a blessed day to all. Man, so shout out. So check out Deluxe Night on Rumble. He makes great farming videos, dude. It's cool to see what is happening there. I've never seen some of this equipment. I'm like, oh my gosh. From inside the cab, he turns around. It's like all these big things mowing all this stuff out. Crazy. So it's super cool. That's awesome. And you might get a little bit more discoverability if you just happen to post them on YouTube as well. Not that we don't love Rumble. So that's awesome. Frodo Mocho. What's up, Frodo Mocho? Bringing in 5 membos. Thank you, Frodo Mocho. Frodo, not even a membo, but bringing in more membos. How generous. Says, Rebecca Gallen, Skask Mooski's here. Hank Hill, Stuart McLean, and Sue Colbert in the house, courtesy of Frodo Mocho 1. Thank you, Frodo, for that. Very nice of you. And this old guy says, I hate it when conference calls in business get in the way of the watcher's live stream. I tried participating in both simultaneously. It gets confusing, and sometimes I comment in the wrong live stream. Oh, well, it is what it is. That's pretty funny. No, I mean, not really for you probably, but for us. Like, I don't know what your conference call is, but if you're just like, Jeffrey Epstein's a total pervert and deserves to be, and everyone's like, Soul Guy, what are you talking about? We're building a car wash today. What? What are you talking about? It's like, what is happening? So I don't, it happens. Sometimes that happens. We cover a lot of news. So I'm like, I need to have all this news like flooding into my brain. Sometimes I hear like 5 things going on at once, and I'm reading Twitter, and I'm, show prepping. It's like, what's happening in my brain? Yeah, this old guy. Thank you. James Marino. Hey, the FBI panic evidences the hubris of the deep state's power to corruptly fix elections. There was no doubt they would prevent Trump from being reelected. I think that's right. I think that's exactly right. They thought they were going to get away with it so they could do whatever they wanted. It was all locked in. There was no doubt, and they would never be exposed or held accountable. Hello, private sector. I think that's exactly right. It's like kids in a candy store, or it's like Black Friday. As long as you get out, you're going to be fine. And that's what they thought. They thought they could just, if they made J6 successful enough, then it would protect them moving forward. And so they put all in on that. They made it the biggest thing since the Civil War, right? The greatest attack on democracy since the Civil War. Forgetting all about 9/11, forgetting all about Pearl Harbor and those other things. No, it was 1,500 misdemeanors, many of which were elevated to felonies. There were a handful of felonies. Cops were also shooting protesters in the face unnecessarily, but you get the point. So I agree. I think that they all got caught with their pants down. They realized, like Joe Biden, the flame out. It was more slow motion than 2016. That was a giant surprise. They all got caught. This time they were preparing for it, and they came out swinging, capturing the judiciary. Their legal strategy has been quite good, I'll say. From their perspective, it's been effective in stalling the Trump presidency. And we're seeing some recourse now from the Supreme Court, allowing Trump to move forward, stopping some of the nationwide injunctive stuff. So that's all good. But they thought that they were never going to be caught, and so they could do anything they wanted. Now they have to pay for those repercussions. Off-Label Podcast right next door. What's up, Off-Label? 16 arrested in Ohio for rioting last night, and 3 dead from an explosion at LA Sheriff's Office. The powder keg has been lit now. Yeah, and now we see Trump is also playing his voice outside the ICE centers, and it's making them even more mad. So they might turn into actual zombies now. So things could get serious. Mark Shaw, D's demand ICE agents must be accountable so they can be held accountable. But FBI agents must not be identifiable so they cannot be held accountable. You can't make this doo-doo up. That's another great comment. Yeah, that juxtaposition between the two. Yeah, you could probably imagine. Like, I'm curious if Norm Eisen or any of his people sued to stop ICE from wearing masks, right? In the meantime, FBI agents cannot be held accountable at all for anything they did, because all they're trying to do is weaponize the entities to accomplish their political goals. Bruce Rice, baby. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you, Bruce. Look at this. 50 new membos, Bruce. And we know who's coming in on this one. We got Steve Drake, Deucey, Pee-wee, Valerie. What's up, Nathan? Paula Ivy got one. Caitlin M. GOVL. What's up, Christopher Halis? French fries here. We've got John K. One Bucky. Amber Talon, that pretty girl is here. Psychological projectionist, welcome. Scott Deutsch. We got Jean M, Charles G, Water Earth Mud is here, Karen Marie, Natzo, Ron Schnabner, Alien Vision 40, welcome. We got Philly, Diary of Ghost, Get Out is here, Jules OMN. We got Doll Ben, Mr. Twister, Coin Silver, Linda Yarwowski. What's up, Lauren Wren? Zero, last name FAWKES, and B Space, all gifted membos, courtesy of Bruce Rice Baby. Dun 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 dun. Thank you, Bruce Rice Baby. Oni! Also, 1 year. Happy anniversary to us and everybody here. We celebrate our anniversaries here. And more from Bruce Rice Baby. M.O. Clayton B. Towels. What's up? Goodbye one. Andy. What's up? MCE. Cookies in the Garden. Seth Davidson. Nick Hodgkins. What's up? AB. Gary Baines. The Party Fairy. We got Spirit Lifter and Edith. All gifted membos, courtesy of Bruce. Thank you very much, Bruce. Very awesome of you to do that. Oni is here. 5 more coming in, courtesy of Oni. Thank you, Oni. Mitter Bin is here. We got Albert Sanchez. What's up, Long Hunter? IK and Sandy K. Gifted membos, courtesy of Oni in the house. Thank you, Oni, for bringing in 5 of our newest friends. We're going to have a lot of friends in the after party. It's going to be great. Hey, Sam in Texas. Membo for 13 months. The Dems' faux outrage causes me more outrage. It is irritating. It's like if you ask, like, do you have to go to the bathroom before you leave? And then as soon as you get in the car, they're like, I have to go to the bathroom. You're like, what? We just left. Did you think at all? It's very annoying because the Democrats are like, well, now we have to go pee, which is the Epstein files. And he's, what? Where were you for the last 4 years when we were sitting here in the bathroom? But now I want it. You're like, okay, this is annoying. Get out. Sev Russ, emotional distress, my booty. Don't do the crime to avoid the distress. Yeah, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is just follow the law, not be a partisan political FBI hack. Pansy, snowflake, FBI deep state agents. Enough said. I know, it's pretty pathetic, honestly. You go into Norm Eisen's office and you're an FBI special agent. You're like, I'm really scared. Norm, help me. FBI agents. And they give them all like these stupid TV shows too. I'm special agent so-and-so. It's like, two different, very different people, like the white guy and the black guy, or 2 different minorities, or the man and the woman, or whatever. We're FBI agents. We're so tough. But we're here to file pseudo-anonymous complaints because we don't want to get in trouble from J6ers. Pathetic. Deluxe Night. I remember a thing from my childhood. Pretty sure PBS used to hold fundraising televised events for funding. Was I missing something there? Or why would they need to run fundraising events once or twice a year to keep the lights on if they were already taxpayer funded since the 60s, like Stelter said on CNN? I was born in 1981. What am I missing here? That's a good question. Well, I think we fund them and they also want public money. So like they're probably double dipping. Like they're getting supported by the taxpayer, but they're also like, you support us through your donations. So I would guess it's probably both. And I would also guess that the funding, is probably adjusted since that time. So like maybe before the 60s, or maybe some of that fundraising was being repurposed to other things like their charitable organization or to some causes. Like I feel like I did a call-in type of fundraising thing. It was on like TV. It might have been for PBS or something. Like I was taking phone calls. We're like, call in and donate today. Like everybody was talking to the camera, and I was one of the dudes in the back, like taking the calls. I'm like, oh, hello. Oh, yes. How much would you like to donate? Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you for supporting PBS. It might have been PBS. I don't remember. But it was pretty fun, actually. I was like, oh, really? Where are you from? This is great. How much? $10. That's awesome. Thank you. All right. So Philip Butler, the list could be a witness list for prosecution. I think there's a lot of lists we're talking about. Yeah. Like in the indictments, in the grand jury testimony, in Epstein's criminal indictment, they talked about other people. So there's a whole bunch of people like that you would imagine were talked about in the testimony. So we'll see what we get. Hey, Mark Shaw. Thank you, Mark. What a nice dono. Very nice of you. Oh, pizza. Okay, we have to order pizza tonight because of Mark. Thank you, Mark. We will. Rob, it's Friday, so have a great weekend, and pizza is on me. Keep up the good work. Oh, man, it's going to be delicious. That sounds good. Normally we make our own pizzas, but we haven't gotten our pizza dough. There's this great baker in Prescott called Upan Bakery. I think it's UPAN Bakery. And they deliver homemade Italian pizza doughs, okay? Pizza flats. And then you just make your own pizza, throw a little marinara sauce on there, some mozzarella cheese, some pepperoni, throw it in the oven on a pizza stone, 500 degrees, boom, comes out crisp and delicious. But their pizzas have been out of stock. They're pizza flats, so haven't gotten those in a while. So pizza sounds great. Thank you, Mark. We'll enjoy it. And it's great, man. So if you haven't tried that, by the way, grab a pizza stone, throw a pizza on there. You can get some good flats from Sprouts and other things. They don't have all the seed oils in them. It's good stuff. It's good. Make a nice little pizza. Eat a lot of pizza. Jesus 7 saves indeed. Amen to Jesus. Bonnie's here. The House isn't going to vote on the revised rescission bill the Senate passed until 4 p.m. today. I'm not going to count my wins before it passes. Thank you for the heads up on that, Bonnie. A lot is going on in the Senate, so in the House. So it's all, I think, racing against the clock. Today's the deadline, right? So Friday at 4. And I think we were skeptical that anything was going to happen, so hope I'm wrong. I'm an American man. Sun's out, guns out, baby. That's right. Every single day for the summer months is bicep day. So hopefully you're getting them in. Sun's out, guns out, baby. I'm an American man. I got 4 hours of biceps as soon as we're done here. Patty Rod. Hello, my beautiful friends. I missed hearing that great opening every day. Patty Rod, we missed you. Glad to have you back. Don't ever leave us again. Nice to have you. Thank you for the dono. Great to have you here. 51K, Rob, I'm curious. When court docs are sealed, where are they kept? Do they exist on a server somewhere, a locked filing cabinet? I'm just curious. So I think it's going to depend on what is being sealed. Like if it's, CSAM material, stuff like that, like they're just not throwing that in a folder. A lot of that is locked down on private terminals that are air gapped and all sorts of stuff. So like if it's very sensitive evidence, it'll be kind of sealed away in physical protective spaces. I would say other things that are just documents, I think probably depending on the courts, it's just filed, not on the public docket. It's kind of filed in the court file, but not in the public file. And that would probably be sealed enough, presuming that the court is not, leaking or anything like that. In other words, I'm not sure what their internal security systems are like whether it's on an encrypted Dropbox or something or some sort of, government system. But like if it is CSAM material or if it's these other materials that are highly, highly sensitive, they don't just put that in public, fold or even like administrative folders. Like it's very access is, and if it's classified, right? Like for example, if it's classified, what if it's classified and filed under seal? So then if it's just under seal, maybe the court clerk can see it, but what if it's classified and under seal? So now the court clerk can't see the classified documents, the judge could, but the court clerk, you would argue, can't. So then it's like another section where that person doesn't have access to those documents, you would argue. So the details, I'm not exactly sure, but it's a great question. And if it's, as another caveat, if it's an Epstein file, they have a shredder, just a commercial shredder. So they seal the Epstein stuff. They just go, oh yeah, no, we'll file it under seal. And it's gone. You never see it again. So that's, I think, how that one works. Hey, Big D is here. You hear about payment processors censoring again? No, I haven't heard that. Is that happening again? So like Stripe and those big boys? That's a big deal. Yeah, hopefully that is not happening. Thank you, Big D, for that. Thanks for being a member for 1 month, my man. We appreciate you. Hey, Ravicus says, I couldn't get the words to post right. Yeah, AI has a tough time putting captions on AI images, but this says, I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Man, I remember when kids used to say that to me. Be like totally defeated. What can you say? I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks back to you. Oh, dang it. I'm totally muted now. I can't say anything. Nice job, young man. S. Quinn, happy Friday, everyone. And thank you, Rob, for another week of laughs and info in this crazy info warfare that we're living in. Thank you, S. Quinn. Thanks for being here. And It was an interesting week. It was definitely a dynamic week. There were ups and downs, called weaklings. Now we're getting some files. Things are wild out there. So it's good. It's good times. Hey, Goosish Duck. Without PBS, who's going to broadcast the Quiz Bowl? I'm not even sure what the Quiz Bowl is. Is it like a Quiznos? Burrito Bowl? Kind of thing? I don't know. So PBS, they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to actually have to do some real reporting and generate a reputation and people who are not just propagandized getting spoon-fed government liberal propaganda. Deluxe Night, what's up, Deluxe Night? Sun's out, guns out. It's range day every day for patriot farmers. Man, I'd love to hear that. So Farmer Deluxe Night is planting food and plinking targets, baby. Love it. All right, so Deluxe Night, thank you for that. Great to have you here. My friends, thank you for all those donos. Welcome to our new membos. Mock Schnell, Bruce Rice, baby. Thank you for bringing in so many of our new friends and everybody who brought in membos. Thank you for that. We are going to have a members-only after party. We're going to debrief and see what you have to say about all of this on the morning. Oh, no, there's naked stick figure gifs in our X post. Oh, there's boobs over there. American Boomer, watching you try to read the letter is hilarious. Keep up the great work. Try to read the letter. Which letter was that one? Oh, this one from Epstein. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey, says President Trump. Oh, it's just outstanding. Okay, so, hey, Jonah Finn. Rob, still not as JP Sears vein bulge level there, Rob. I know, JP Sears, friggin' shredded. Dude's jacked, man. Bursting out. I know. I don't know what I got to do. I got to increase my testosterone or something. I don't know. I'll work on it. But shout out to JP Sears, man. He knows what's up. Sun's out, guns out, baby. We're starting the bicep revolution. Polo and bicep revolution, okay? And if your biceps are a little off, just get smaller shirts, like I do. All right, my friends. So we had some great comments on X. I can't share the walking, dancing, naked stick figure GIF over there, but if you want to go check it out, it is over there. And my friends, it's been a beautiful Friday. So we're going to leave it there on the day, but membos, come and join us in the after party. If you're a YouTube membo and you just got gifted a membo, we hope we see you. And all you got to do is just, if you want to join us, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. And then we'll see you on the after party. You can go back to the channel homepage. I'll also drop a link in the chat that will take you right over there. So if you're a membo on YouTube, we'll come see you. Also, membos, we have member streams on Saturdays, and that's going to be happening tomorrow because it is Saturday. And so membos, we'll see you tomorrow as well. But my friends, it has been a beautiful day and a beautiful stream. And so I want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. K-Bean, Carrie B, clipping for us. Thank you both for that. Donut, John, we got Dog Digger, Neuro D, Janek, Jigum, Elliot, Just Rhonda, all amazing. And we're grateful for our incredible team and mods and everybody who helps keep this train on the track. Now, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com and on YouTube, membos only after party. We hope to see you there, but it has been an amazing week, my friends. Lots of dynamism, I'll say this week, but the winning will continue, and we'll continue to be here. We appreciate you doing the same. Thanks for joining us. I hope that your weekend is just outstanding. You're doing something fun, something interesting, something exciting, or just relaxing, restoring, rejuvenating, spending time with family, friends, the people that we love, getting outside, getting some vitamin D, soaking it up, because we're coming back here on Monday, and we're going to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends, and an amazing weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.
watching my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we exposed corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers, truth on our side. Watching the watchers, we won't be denied. Watching the watchers, eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news.